for a great ride, because right now the physicality is high. Watch here, Abby had already just hit the floor a minute ago, got up, and you could see that the two teammates or two friends off the court had no love lost between them right there in that action.
Yeah, the likes of Murray, George, Jackson, Bishop, they've been playing against each other for many, many years. Great history between all of them as teammates and opponents. Rochi, here is Bishop, looks for blitz arms. Back out to Maddie, loses the handle on it, just keeps it alive. Blitz arms nudged out of bounds by Mitchell.
Fouls on Tiffany Mitchell, picking up the first personal. We've got substitution. Comes on for Southside line.
Just under 4 minutes remaining in the opening term of the boom box. Lauren Jackson takes a seat. And the big roar for Tess Madgen, who appears for the first time since the World Cup when she led Australia to rose gold.
And she's been back in training for quite a couple of weeks, so they've obviously been trying to make sure that she's ready, fit and firing to go, and hopefully she gets a few minutes here in this opening quarter and then just settles into the game.
Watch to Rochi. Blitz arms, gives the Flyers the lead.
Well, that's just smart. Tess Madgen checks in. You run the first play against her, see what she's capable of, and that was a beautiful action of closing the gates, finding Sarah Blitzarves on the three-point line, and she went whack.
Melbourne led by 6. They now trail by 1. It's been a great response from Southside. George against Ernst, another of the veterans.
Kayla's had 2 great looks at the rim in this opening quarter. The first one on Abby Bishop on the left-hand side, and then a nice little cheeky move there against Carly Ernst.
Another off-the-ball foul, another offensive foul.
Offensive foul.
On Bishop again. Emotions high. It's a big game between 2 great rivals. And then the individual battles, as you mentioned, Screedy. There's no one you want to beat more than your friends.
No, when you talk about head-to-head, there's so many matchups you want to watch. Right now, you've got Wallace and Conti. We know Conti's not going to take a backward step to Wallace. And then, obviously, you've got Sarah Blitzarves with Kayla George there coming across to the screen. There's just too many options to talk about.
What a pass from George in the blink of an eye. Now gets herself into position. Tough shot. Can't go. It was off balance. Davidson tidies it up, and the Boomers retain possession. Mitchell wants to work on Blitzarves. Can she take it to the rack? She'll try. She does.
The ability right there from Tiff Mitchell to keep the dribble alive. She probably might have thought about picking up the ball, but that ability to keep the dribble alive and keep the deep thinking was absolutely superb, as was that move there from Sarah Blitzarves. Want her to have a great game tonight. Statistically speaking, it's really hard to pinpoint anyone from Southside Flyers having a star-studded season, because they're just all so bloody good. You know, Sarah,
really solid, hasn't it?
They're just solid. So one night you think you got to close down Lauren Jackson, and then obviously with the likes of Abby Bishop, Maddie Rochi, but then you got Sarah Blitzarves to think about. She's having a great season in her own right. She's averaging the 12.7 points and just a touch under 6 rebounds on the season. But I see her being more of a defensive-minded player this season, having the task of trying to lock down the studs.
Boomers by 1, entertaining opening term as these two sides go at it. Flyers won the first game in this 3-game Michelle Timms Cup series. They'd love to close out the season series. Mitchell from long range.
And that's something she's brought to her game this year, compared to last, where we thought she was a driving type, penetrating type of a player, that robust kind of wing player. Her ability to knock down the 3 at 52% this season, incredible.
Leading average scorer as Blitzarves lays in another 2, and these two teams go bucket for bucket right now. Mitchell brings it down the floor once again. George. Wallace wraps around, receives it back. Lovely 1-2 move. Shot was short. And here comes Thornton. Potch takes on Madgen. Can't finish. Davidson flips it out. And Wallace controls it. Boomers ball, 1:40 left in the opening term. Wallace, Madgen and Conti going at it. Off the ball. Here's Christie. Lovely touch.
Love it. Love it. Mid-range game off that pick and roll. It's so hard to guard when you know how quick she is at putting on the speed to get to the rack. She has the ability to shoot the 3-ball as well, but when she has that mid-range, boy, oh boy, it's so hard to guard.
Madgen tried to pull out of that contact, couldn't do so. Great opportunity here for Nadia Potch to get more minutes with the likes of Amy Rochi out of this lineup. There's minutes to be had. And the youngster has been really impressive, the 18-year-old, in this 11th WNBL game. What a future she has in front of her.
She does indeed. I think she's going to be a future Opal. She did go to the bench, realised she had 2 shots. She's definitely a star of the future, not just in the WNBL, but on the radar of the Australian Opals as well. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a call up in the coming years to be a part of the squad. Paris potentially might be a little bit early, but there's a big changing of the guard happening. Yeah. A lot of great youngsters coming through, which are going to push those vets at the Opals level in the next couple of years, and she's definitely one of them. We've
seen that injection of athleticism, the likes of Ezi Magbagor in that Opals lineup, the ability to change tempo and have super athletes in every position. Nadia Potch certainly fits that bill. Here's Madgen, Opals captain. Mitchell. Boomers by 3. Final minute of the first term. Mitchell kicks to the corner for George. Short. And here comes Conti. Mon always on the move. Here's Ernst, the 3-point specialist. Madgen. Thornton just rips it out of her arms. Can't finish. Here's Goodchild. Mila with some minutes in this one early. Being harassed by Conti. Wants to hold it up, but Mon says none of that. I'm right up in your grill. Goodchild and Conti again. Shot clock down to single digits. What can Mila come up with? She's got Mitchell, who wants to go to the rack herself. Can't finish. To the Blitzarves. Could be the final play. They'll go early. Blitzarves comes up with the points, and it's a 1-point game. Boomers to have the final play of the term. George. Now Mitchell. 6 seconds to shoot. She'll line up from 3. It'll be short. Davidson is fouled with 1 second to play in the opening quarter.
Not a bad foul there by Ernst. She obviously knew she couldn't come up with the rebound there against Penina Davidson, as we see the shot fly here, but just smarts. They weren't in team foul trouble. That puts them to 4 team fouls, which means with 1.1 seconds, Boomers have got to have a quick look here at a shot.
Catch and shoot situation here for Melbourne. Right in front of the Boomers bench, so Chris Lucas with a great opportunity to work there with Mitchell and agree on a play. Imagine to inbound it. Goodchild in the corner, Mitchell on the 3-point line, just communicating with the bench right now as they reset the shot clock to 2. There's Jason Kelly. Imagine on the inbound. George gets to the post. Davidson back to Tess. Called for the travel. Entertaining opening term, high scoring, physical, ferocious, intense, everything we expected in the derby. Is there still some time on the clock before that foul was, before the travel was called? Just hold the music momentarily.
.3 on the clock.
So 0.3 of a second. That's the minimum for a catch and shoot. Conti will launch one. And not too bad job of it. Now it's quarter time. Heck of a game this one. Wednesday night hoops on ESPN. It's the Boomers 21, Southside 20.
We've got to release the ball out of the point guard spot. We've got to keep the ball moving, take pressure away from her. Okay? Wally, go this side here. Mia, okay, we're in 3 twists. 3 twists. Okay, so Mila, you're coming up. Hand back, Mia's coming in. You stretch to here. Okay? All right, defensively, all right, we don't want to have front foot denial on the 3 side. Back foot denial, guys. We're giving up layups, 2 layups off that. Okay? Ball pressure on post feeds. Bring a crowd on Jackson. All right, and don't take any shit from her. Okay? Don't take any shit from anybody. Always on the front foot. Okay? Keep rebounding.
Ladies, defense is
The other thing, when Sarah's here or Cole's here, they're going right drive when they're on this side of the floor. Okay, jump across, send it back the other way. All right, who's got Rochi? Yep, okay. All right, here we go. You got Cole. So it feels strange.
Quarter time at the Boombox. Melbourne 21, Flyers 20. Really fun opening term as these two teams went hammer and tongs at each other. Let's go courtside. Here's Megs, who was in the Southside huddle.
I sure was. The message from Coach Cheryl Chambers was that we are right in the game, but we can certainly improve our D. She wants them to box out here. She said she hasn't seen them run transition once, so let's run it. And I loved the reaction from Lauren Jackson as Sarah Blitzarves came off the court with the quarter-high 11 points. She hugged her and said, I should hug you more often. You're bloody awesome. So that's the word from the GOAT.
Flies back in front early in this second term. Murray to Wallace. Finds the bottom of the net. Screening, we were fortunate enough to listen in to the Boomers huddle at quarter time. What did you make of it?
Well, listening to Chris Lucas, he speaks about ball movement. It gets a bit stagnant left in the point guard's hands. They get to one side and get a little bit stuck. They need to reverse it to the other side, as we see Thornton with a nice little fadeaway against the length of George there. But then they've got to look after the ball. They've got 4 turnovers. The positive is that they've had 6 more scoring shots with than the Southside Flyers, but just haven't been able to capitalise on that component.
Here's Wallace. Dota. Back to Christie. Great find.
And that's what's going to open up when the likes of Conti and Rochi are up and in on your point guard so much and not trying to let them get the ball as soon as they've let go of it, is there's going to be those back cuts and those kind of looks at the rim all night.
Rochi couldn't get a difficult shot to go. George off to Wallace. Nelson Adota heading downhill, runs straight into Blitzarves, keeps it alive. Here's Beck Cole. Off to Sarah, sets her feet and pulls the trigger.
Why not for the 251 gamer? She finished with 11 points in that opening quarter, went 100% from the field and continues that prolific shooting at the moment.
Flies up by 2. Nelson Adota against Jackson. That battle continues. And Nelson Adota draws the foul.
And that was a better scoring opportunity for Nelson Adota there on the previous play in transition. Wally probably sent her a hospital pass, but composure there, got the catch. Ripped hard baseline and was able to draw a foul there on the GOAT, Lauren Jackson. And all Sarah Blitzarves for the Flyers, 11 points, 4 to Rochi, 4 to Thornton. Well, for the Boomers, 9 to Christy Wallace, as Nelson Adota makes the free throw. 9 for Wallace, 8 for Mitchell, 6 for George. Even Nelson Adota goes at around about 70%, 68 this season, 70% in the WNBA season just passed from the free throw stripe, and she makes them both to tie things up. Promising prospect at just 22 years of age, isn't she? Oh, beautiful. And we're so lucky to have her in our league. She's been coached by one of the best and greatest in USA basketball, in Gina Ariyama as well. So she comes from good pedigree.
Her dad, Sebastian, was a professional player. Her 2 brothers, both professional players. And Kayla Thornton, she's a professional player. She's lighting things up at the moment. She's
having a great season for the Southside Flyers. That's one that probably gets lost a bit in the likes of Sarah Blitzarves and Lauren Jackson. But Kayla's having 16 points and Kayla, I should say, is having 16 points and a touch over 6 rebounds a game this season.
Here's the other Kayla from that favourite spot of hers. Shoots over Blitzarves. Bucket for bucket continues. Rochi to Jackson. Now to Blitzarves for another 3. Oh, he's feeling it tonight.
Deja vu, if you don't mind. They've got to ride her a little bit tighter. That's the same position that she found herself in the last 3 she drained, but 100% from the field in just a touch under 12 minutes. 14 points for the night, if you don't mind. Up to 17 now for Sarah Blitzarves. This timeout brought to you by CTM Sport. If you're considering travelling interstate with your basketball team, consider CTM Sport. That's ctmsport.com.au. Let's listen to Chris Lucas in the Boomers huddle.
Let's go horns 2 for Mia, so we get another pick and roll. You go back to Sarah. any pick and roll, okay, we're going to blacks, okay? You can't go under with Sarah anywhere. Right there, she's the only one that's hurting us, okay? We're going to go Liv, horns 2. Mia, Wally with the ball, screen in here. You guys stretching the corners here, okay? Re-screen, Mia's coming back, all right? She jumps in front, you got the throwback. Play, we're going to go to the 2-3 zone until they score. All right? A match-up. A match-up zone.
Meanwhile, in the Southside huddle, Megan Huswaite.
Cheryl Chambers telling her players that Boomers are throwing everything at them right now and they've just got to weather the storm. She asked them to keep defending, and as the message at quarter time, she wants to see them run in transition.
Flyers lead it by 3. Wallace with the carry here. Being harassed by Maddie Rocci. Here's Murray. Back to Christie. Rocci sticks to the task. Murray gets herself open. Can't make the shot drop.
Operation successful. Patient died there. That was exact execution out of the timeout that Chris wanted. They just couldn't find the bottom of the net, but someone is finding the bottom of the net, and joining Sarah Blitzarves for the party tonight is Kayla Thornton. She's got 8 points now.
Lighting things up in this second term as the Flyers get out to a 5-point lead. Nelson Adoda to Mitchell. Runs into a dead end. Here's Murray. She's been hot all year, Mia Murray. Yep.
Great defense, just better offense in that case. I thought Rebecca Cole did a great job, closed out, ran her off the 3-point line, but the vet just had a few more tricks in her toolkit there and had a nice little finish.
Blitzarves on 17 points. Make it 20.
Well, someone's got to shut that girl down. She is in the zone right now, and someone from Melbourne Boomers, I don't know who it is, Tiff Mitchell, Mia Murray, even, potentially even Christy Wallace, has got to put their hand up and deny her the ball on every possession from here going forward. Oh.
Just can't quite finish. Flies up by 5. Thornton, as we said, having a big second term. Pressure came from the back, but foul in the process. And the Flyers have got the game on their terms for the first time tonight. They lead by 5. Boomers led by 6 early. Flyers got on a roll, a 6-point run, levelled things up. Now they've managed to pull clear early in this second quarter. Looking good. Rocci. Blitzarves looks to get to her position on the right. This time they go left to Cole. Blitzarves keeps it alive, but Cole can only tap it as far as Murray. Mitchell and the Boomers find a little bit of offensive juice here. Wallace flips it over the top. Nelson Adoda, they crossed over, so she had the mismatch on Cole. Now back to Christie. Those shots just not quite dropping for Melbourne at the moment. Screening, they're getting great looks. They're getting what they want. They're just not dropping the shots.
But their possession and their blue-collar work is keeping them in the game right now. They're down by 5 points, but those relentless efforts on the glass gives them opportunity and gives them potential momentum in this second quarter.
Murray and Thornton scrapping on the deck.
Substitution going on for the Flyers.
Sarah Blitzarves takes a seat. 19 points to her name. Midway through the second term.
She might take a seat, but I'd be like, I'm in the zone, coach. Don't take me out right now. Let me out, leave me out there, and let me still contribute to the team.
Mitchell won't go. So the Boomers gone a little cold at the offensive end in this second term. Shots just not dropping for them. They're getting some good looks. Here's Rocci. She takes on Mitchell and finishes. Got there in the end. It rolled around, had a look. The Flyers are up by 7. Wallace to George. Here's Mia Murray. Back to Kayla. Another one hits the rim.
And that's 3 early looks from the 3-point line for the Melbourne Boomers. Like I said, in that first quarter, just their ball movement was stagnant if it wasn't in Christy Wallace's hands, and they're just not getting good. They're getting good shots. They're not just getting great shots.
Wanted a foul.
And that is an example right there by Mia Murray. They've got to slow it down, get some first side, second side, potentially some third side action through ball reversal, maybe some dribble penetration as well to get the defenders from the Southside Flyers on the move.
Whole shot short off the iron. George to Wallace. Important minutes here for the Boomers as they look to reel Southside back in, at least halt their momentum. Mitchell Strong screen from Potch on Murray. Ball jarred loose, but it's tidied up by Wallace. Offensive foul on Nelson Adota.
Well, they're going to that mid-pick and roll a lot, the Melbourne Boomers, but their spacing off it just isn't pretty. They're a bit too collapsed on the side that has the double players for the Melbourne Boomers, and it just doesn't give them much space off that action for Christy Wallace to have to create, and then they force that offensive foul there, and another opportunity to Flyers to extend this lead.
Here's Potch. Cole works to the corner. Instead, she swings it to Maddie Rocci. Thornton. Coming in hard was Wallace. Taylor hits the deck once again. Here's another look.
Foul on number 6,
Foul on Thornton. What'd you make of it, Screeney?
It was just two players battling for the ball. Thornton came in hard there, which you want off your player. And Wally just had better eyes for the ball. Just a great contest from two players going hard at the ball. And unfortunately in that one, Thornton came off second best. But we hope she's okay. You want a battle, you want the physicality.
Great second term is Kayla Thornton. As you mentioned, having a great season. Averaging 28 minutes a game, 16.6 rebounds, 2 assists a game.
And you can just see her come out of screen here a little bit. She battled with Mia Murray on the first contest and just had her body weight going to the left, and then obviously didn't see Christy Wallace flying in as well. But we hope she's okay. She went off early in that first quarter with a scratch to the eye or the pupil. And hopefully it's just a bit of a bang on the head, but we never want to underestimate a hit to the head at all.
Go down the tunnel to be assessed by the Flyers medical staff. Just over 4 minutes remaining in this second term. Flyers having a good one. They've scored 18 points to 11. They trailed by 1 at the first change. They're now to lead by 7. Wallace. And the Boomers get something going here on offense, as I mentioned. 21 points in the first term, just 11 so far in the second. Off the ball foul this time on Maddie Rocci as Wallace tries to step through.
And this is what can happen. The referees try to stem the physicality of the game and call a few quick ones to try and eradicate any type of bullying, if you will, from one team to another. Oh.
Wow.
Talk about bullying.
What a heads-up play from Christy Wallace. She inbounds it off the back of Maddie Rocci, who's looking in the other direction, gets it back, makes the 2. Bishop for the response.
And that's just no respect paid by Kayla George there against Abby Bishop. She hesitated, thought twice about it, but no one was guarding her, and she just let it fly.
Nelson Adota. George is wide open. Can she get one to drop? Not this time. Jackson to Cole. Boomers 12 from 22 from the field right now, which doesn't sound too bad, but they were going well in the first term. They've been cold in the second. Rocci steps through, and Maddie's up to 8 points.
And Rocci's just been tearing them up on the pick and roll defense, the Melbourne Boomers, in her ability here. As you see, Christy Wallace with all the smarts against Maddie Rocci. Thought she was going to close out to the person coming off the curl screen there, but Wallace had better ideas. But they've got to do better on the defensive end, the Melbourne Boomers, if there are any chance to close out this deficit.
This time out brought to you by Cygnett, and to stay in sync with the latest WNBL news and social highlights, head over to Cygnett for their New Year's sale to keep your gadgets charged up at home or on the go. Here's Cheryl Chambers in the Southside huddle, Cygnett.com.
Change up the defense somehow, okay? So whether it be that they're trying to push us out of our stuff, so make sure really good leads, okay? If you go back door, go hard, next person replace. They might go to a zone. If they go to zone 2 outworked, we just got to get her low, you flash. Yeah, 2 out of work. Or you can run blue or just high-low, because as you saw, if we can penetrate, they're going to have to start to come now. There'll be some open shots, okay? Break out. Keep going. 3 minutes. Southside
Flies out to a game-high 10-point lead as we head courtside to Megs.
We could be forgiven for thinking Chris Lucas was an Aussie rules coach in that timeout. Down the guts was the message to his Boomers players. No zone for the Boomers until the Flyers score. And what a lucky leg and what a lucky club the Boomers are to have Christy Harrower four-time Olympian as assistant coach, very calm, collected, communicating with her players in that timeout.
Yeah, Chris Lucas and Christy forming a really good bond, working well together as coach and assistant.
A bond needs to be formed on the offensive end and defensive end from the Melbourne Boomers right down now. Credit to the Southside Flyers, though. They've come out flying and their offense is humming better than it did in the first quarter, but it's coming off their defense. They've upped it a little bit. They're getting under the collar and the skin of the Melbourne Boomers and making it all a little bit harder at the moment.
Intensity's been excellent. Having said that, the Boomers have had some shots they would normally expect to make. They just haven't. Who can break the drought here? Is it Nelson Adota? It is. They needed that too. They need a couple more besides to get themselves right back in touch. Rochi's has been happy to take it to the rack at every opportunity. Bishop receives from Conti. Off to Jackson. Short. Mitchell, a scrap. Boomers ball.
And you saw in that passage of play, Southside Flyers flying the lanes at will. Their transition is on point at the moment, especially off scoring opportunities coming off the back of the Melbourne Boomers. And that's an area also that they need to tighten up. And I spoke about at the start of the game for the Melbourne Boomers. The key to the win is the D-trans. And right now, Maddie Rochi and her crew are making a mockery of the Melbourne Boomers on the D-trans end.
Anita Davidson into the game. There's Wallace against Conti. Poch, active hands, knocks it clear of Mitchell. 8 points for Tiff, 11 for Christy Wallace, 8 for George, 8 for Mitchell, 19 for Blitzarbs, 8 for Rochi and Thornton. Mitchell to Wallace to Madgen, who's back in. Return game for Tess. Rattles out. The Boomers shooting woes continue.
That would be nice if that one found the bottom of the net, but good recognition and IQ there from Tess Madgen. You know that the Southside Flyers are trying to push up and override on the screen. She just did a nice little flare action and found herself an open shot.
Jackson couldn't control it. Blitzarbs on the defensive end, getting it done. Took a piece of that ball as Mitchell tried to blow by. Jump ball called.
And right there, you know Tiff Mitchell, she wants to make things happen. She's a leading scorer for a reason, but there was nothing there. Lauren Jackson was clogging up the lane. There was no opportunity or penetration. Pull it out, get the ball through hands and get a good look.
Last 2 minutes of the opening half. Flyers lead it by 8. Bishop to Blitzarbs. Jackson. Conti. Up against Wallace. Looking for some separation. Gets it now. Pops it over the top to Jackson. LJ can't finish. Christie ran in her own teammate and travelled in the process. Thumped into the back of Penina Davidson, I think it was. So a chance here for Southside to set up and build on this 8-point lead. It's been all Flyers in the second term. Taking control of the tempo. Blitzarbs has been white hot. 21 points for Sarah in game number 251.
Well, happy New Year's for Sarah Blitzarbs. Give the girl the ball. She has not missed. She's shooting absolutely on point tonight. Every opportunity the Southside Flyers have to go at her, go at her.
Davidson, Wallace. Here's Madgen wide open. They needed it and Tess delivers.
And that was a beautiful, nice, hard roll from Penina Davison. Carried the defense and sucked them in with her. And that allowed that nice, beautiful, open shot for Tess Madgen.
20 shot short. Here's George. Final minute opening half. Madgen, can Tess get involved? Works it with George. Well done. Blitzarb's got a hand in to break it up. Madgen now takes on Bishop. Will she go herself? She will. Tough shot. Jackson off to Conti. Go-ahead play to Bishop. Madgen arrives late, but fouls in the process.
I was wanting Connie to maybe knock it off the boot there like she was on a footy field. Look at this pass. Bang on the money to Abby Bishop. Great job from Tess Madgen to run it down. But Madgen.
Abby will head to the line. 77% free throw shooter across her 265-game career. What a career she's had. 34-year-old originally from Melrose, 265 k's north of Adelaide. She's played all over the world. She's been a 3-time WNBL champion, Rookie of the Year, MVP in 2014, 2-time All-Star. Won a championship with Seattle, played in France, Hungary, Italy. What a career, Abby Bishop.
Oh, she has indeed. Stellar. one that'll go down in the history book. She's well down on her career averages, 15 points and 8 rebounds, but that's not her job in this season. There's too many stars, too many options, but when her number is called on any given night in this league, in the WNBL, she will rise to the occasion, and I'm sure Cheryl will be trusting her at one point or another.
Offensive foul. Geez, we've seen a lot of those in the first half. It's been a physical game.
You've got to give credit, like I said, to the Southside Flyers. They're up, they're in, they're making the Boomers a little bit flustered on the offensive end, and it's creating the turnovers, it's creating the fouls, and they're just not getting that continuity that we've seen in the last 8 games in their 8-game winning streak.
Third personal on Christy Wallace. Final 22 seconds of the opening half. Flyers up by 8. Have a big crowd at the boombox. Wednesday night hoops here on ESPN each and every Wednesday night. Let's have a listen in to Chris Lucas in the Boomers huddle.
Show man, because they're going to go long clock here. On the first down pass, twist to a zone. Match up zone. Yes, guard to wing pass, go to 2. All right, but it has to be one-on-one. All right, initial play here. Show man, first down pass, twist the zone. All right, see if you get a piece of it. All right, here we go.
Pretty self-explanatory there from anyone tuning in to this game on ESPN. They're going to show a man, and on that first cutting action, they're going to flip to a zone. Now, what that means is that they're potentially giving up the opportunity or a 3-point shot, and then obviously inability to crash the glass. So very brave move here from the Boomers, considering the score line, but it could just be disruptive enough to cause the Flyers to potentially not find a shot option or take a quick shot and give them the last possession. But the last thing they don't want to do is foul and send the Flyers to the game, because the next foul, they're in bonus.
Let's see how it all plays out. Beautifully broken down by our own Jenny Screen. 15 seconds to play in the half. Maddie Rocci with the ball. Happy to wind the clock down and then get into motion, which she does now. Takes on Davidson, wants to go herself, feeds it to Jackson, and the Boomers in the end come up with the stop.
Well, there was no opportunity for zone there because they're running the clock down just to get the mid-pick and roll action, but great switching by the Melbourne Boomers. Huge first half of action, lots to talk about, and I can only imagine what the second half we're in for.
It was the Boomers by 1 at quarter time, but the Flyers took control in the second. They scored 26 points to 17 to lead by 8 at the half. It's the Flyers 46, the Boomers 38. As Lauren Jackson, Abby Bishop and Carly Ernst head to the locker room. Plenty of experience between those 3 players. Let's head courtside. Here's Megs.
Sarah Blitzarp's 21 first half points. Does it hit different when it's against the real rivals in a real contest?
Yeah, it really does. I was super nervous before this game. Probably the most nervous I've been since Worlds. It's a massive game. I mean, the atmosphere is amazing here, and it's crosstown rivalry, so we just want to get that win, and I want to do anything I can to help the team get that.
Boomers have won their last 8. They've come from margins to win. They come home like a freight train. How do you avoid that happening in the second half?
Defense, baby. That's literally all we're working on. Defense and rebounding, and we'll focus on offense later.
Thanks, Sarah. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks, Megs.
She went 8 for 8 from the field in the first half. 21 points for Sarah Blitzarps. What a first half of basketball. We'll be back to break it all down after this. It's the Flyers 46, Melbourne 38. Wednesday night hoops on ESPN. Halftime, ESPN's WNBL Game of the Week. It is the Melbourne Derby at the Boombox. The Boomers, the reigning champs, up against the Southside Flyers, their arch rival. This 30-year rivalry continues on for the Michelle Timms Cup, and at halftime, it's the Flyers leading by 6. They trailed by 1 at the first change. They scored 26 points to 17 in that second turn. Jenny Screen, as we take a look at some of the numbers, the Flyers, well, they're shooting red hot at the moment. The Boomers a little off.
They are indeed. They're shooting a prolific clip at 56% in that first half. The thing that I like is they're winning the rebound count. They had 5-0 boards in that opening quarter, did the Melbourne Boomers, but Southside Flyers tightened that up in the second quarter. But the thing also that's really nice is the 22 points in the paint. Now that means that they're either getting low post catches or Maddie Rochi is having her way in terms of penetration off the pick and roll or in the fast break transition.
Yeah, fast break point 6-0 in favour of the Southside Flyers. They're also +6 for points in the paint. Sarah Blitzarb's 21 points, Thornton and Rochi 8 apiece. Christy Wallace leads the game for the Boomers with 11 points. Fantastic game of basketball at the moment. It's the Southside Flyers leading it by 8 points. Well, we're at the halfway point of the season, and great news that the WNBL Awards will return at the end of this season, a gala function scheduled for early March. And because we're at the midway point, we thought, well, it's a perfect opportunity to sit back and have a look at some of these potential contenders. I'm going to start with the Susie Batkovich medal for the league's MVP. And Screeny, who's on your shortlist?
Well, if you have a look here, it's pretty tough to call right now, but there's some pretty exciting things now. For all the Southside Flyers fans, please don't come yelling at me when I haven't picked anyone, because there's just too many good players in there and they'll steal points from each other. But Kayla George, I think, is having one of the best seasons of her career. Tiff Mitchell, obviously, is being great as well, but played 2 less games for the Melbourne Boomers compared to Kayla. Annalee Maley has to be in the talks as well, but we know that Kelsey Griffiths is going to pinch points from her at time to time. Nicholson and Talbot, they could be little dark horses come the end of the season as well.
And Nicholson might have Steph Reid taking some votes away from her. It's going to be a fascinating vote count. Kayla George, Tiff Mitchell, Maley, Griffin, Nicholson and Talbot. So 3 previous winners there in that list, Talbot, Griffin and Maley, and 3 other great stories with George and Mitchell. And also an opportunity there maybe for Lauren Nicholson in her 8th season at 29 years of age. Well, Kayla George and Tiff Mitchell have both had outstanding seasons, as you mentioned. They've been the standouts, but still a half a season of basketball to go, but Kayla George, what a story that would be if she could win it in her 15th season at the age of 33.
And we know that she had her best season, statistically speaking, under Chris Lucas when she played for Townsville. In her last 3 games, she's averaged 16, 30 and 19, and we cannot forget that amazing triple-double she had with 30, 11 and 10. And then Tiff Mitchell, she's leading the league in points scored with 22, just a touch over 22 a game. She's played 8 of their 10 games, as I spoke about before, so they're going to pinch points from each other as well. And obviously don't forget Christy Wallace in that mix. It's going to be a tough one, and I think it's going to come down to the wire, and it's only going to be a little smidgen of who gets over.
Kayla 4 for 13 from the field tonight, but she's got this habit of starting slow and finishing hot, so she's one to watch in the second half. Now, the Betty Watson Award has actually undergone a change in criteria this season. For the last 3 seasons, it was awarded to the best Australian player aged 23 or younger, but from this season, it'll be awarded to the league's breakout player, irrespective of age. So that really opens things up, Screeny. So with that fresh criteria in mind, the breakout player of the league, who's on your shortlist? Well,
Christy Wallace comes to mind, doesn't she? I mean, she's jumped across to the rivalry team in the Melbourne Boomers from the Southside Flyers last year, where she had a bench role, and we knew she did great there. But this year, her numbers are flying: 16 points, 6.3 rebounds. Chloe Bibby's having a great season from the West as well in her first introduction to the WNBL since she has come back from college with 18 and 5. It's really hard because of what the criteria is. I would love there to be a youth award, the Betty Watson Youth Award for the under 23, and then we can just have a most improved. And for mine, Christy Wallace is most definitely at this half point of the season the most improved player. But let's not forget those youngsters as well. They might not be stacking up in numbers, but they're definitely stars of the future in the WNBL.
Lots to look forward to. The WNBL Awards coming up in early March. It is halftime here. We're getting set for 3rd quarter action at the Boombox. It's the Flyers 46, Melbourne 38. Wednesday night hoops on ESPN. just
Can I?
Yeah, just put it on before we go back on camera. It's not until after the game.
Nah.
You won't need that until after the game either.
I just don't want to get...
Just fold it. Hey, can you just help fold her jacket over the back of the chair so she doesn't have to take it off completely? Oh no, you can leave it pinned on because you're not using that mic until after the game.
Isn't it going to get... Oh no, I need to take this off. That's what's catching. Thank you.
Pull it out of your ear. Pull it out of your ear. You don't need it. And then just fold it back.
Thank you.
And then you can leave that clipped on. You can leave that clipped on as well. And all you got to do is just put the jacket on. Forward for us there, Jack. There you go. Getting set for third quarter action at the Boombox. It is the Flyers leading by 8 points as we head courtside to Megs.
I'm with injured Southside captain Amy Rocci. Amy, what was the message at half-time? And you are injured. When can we expect to see you back?
The message was that this third quarter is super important because Boomers are great at coming back from deficits. As for me, hopefully I'll be back for finals.
A back injury, we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Megan Huswaite and Amy Rocci.
And it's a big out, Amy Rocci. You know, she hasn't played a lot of minutes this season, but she is their captain. She has got great IQ, and she's a good controlled tempo player compared to the likes of Rocci and Cole, who we know are just... Sometimes their intensity can overtake them at times, but credit to Rocci tonight. She's been sensational in the way she's controlled the tempo, and for me, she's winning that battle against Wallace.
Mitchell misses the first shot of the third term. Cole tries to take it to the rack. Here's Wallace. Can someone get a hot hand here for the Boomers? Baskets need to start dropping for them. Got some great looks in the second term, but couldn't get them to go. George is 4 for 13. She feeds it inside to Adoda, who works on Jackson, did well. Went to the right, then ducked back to the left, got to good position, drew the foul.
And you can see they're wanting to get the ball inside. Southside Flyers are dominating points in the paint at the moment, and I think the advantage is with Nelson Adoda and Kayla George. Kayla George not shooting at a great clip, 4 of 13 on the night. I think she's taken some good shots, not some great shots in opportunity and advantage. I'd love to see her get some catches on the low block, or even from the elbow. She's had a few pick and pop options. I can't get my words out, Jace. And she's shooting 0-5 from the three-point line. But let's not forget, when she went for that triple-double in the first quarter, she was 0 of 8 and then went bang for the rest of the game. So no doubt she'll pick it up here in the second half.
She started slowly against the Fire as well and then came rattling home. So, as we said, one to watch in the second half. Marching back to 6. Nelson Adoda making both free throws. Thornton, Blitzarves, who was white hot in the first half, on track for a personal best in her career. Jackson and Cole pass it between themselves. Beck gets some space, rolls around, won't drop. Nelson Adoda off to Wallace. Now Kayla. She has that shooter's mentality. She'll just keep shooting when she's open. Here she goes. She's fouled in the process.
There's a foul
Tell us about that shooter's mindset. We talk about it, Screeny, but it's that mental strength to just go, you know what, I've missed my last 6 shots, but I'm still going to pull the trigger. I'm not passing it if I'm open.
No, it's compartmentalising. You know, otherwise you dig yourself a hole and you can't get out of it. And she's veteran enough, and she loves to score. Let's not forget, most South Australians do like to score, and she's not afraid to keep going, and that's really important because they need her to contribute. And that's the thing that's probably going to limit the Melbourne Boomers, if I'm being honest from a critique point of view, is that they don't have the depth on their bench compared to the Southside Flyers in terms of scoring punch and the like. They've got youth and they've got experience, but they don't have Abby Bishop, they don't have Carly Ernst, and they don't have Monique Conti. So if they're going to be a chance for winning back-to-back in the WNBL this year, their starting 5 has to be on point every single night.
Which probably now extends to 6 that you've got Madgen in the mix as well. So they've got 6 that they'll rotate pretty heavily. And 3 of the top 4 players for minutes played in the comp this year are Boomers players. Been out there on the court a lot. George, Mitchell, Newley, Wallace have been out there just about the entire time throughout the season. Here's Jackson. Off to Blitzarves, draws a crowd, out to Thornton, now to LJ. Good board there from Maddie Rocci. Will she go herself? She'll feed it back to Cole. Thought about the gift to Jackson, goes the second time. Rocci's open again, steps to the free throw line and finishes.
I like that. I wanted to bring that into her game a lot more. She's got the 3 ball. She had a look there, but thought better of it on the long closeout. We know she can get to the rack really well, especially on that right hand. But really nice to see her pull up and add that mid-range to her game this season.
5-point game. Boomers scored the first 5 of the term. Murray can't quite. Nelson Adota hauls it in. Wants to give it off to Wallace. Does give it off to Wallace.
I'm loving the play from Nelson Adota at the moment. They're going hard to her in the low block against Jackson, against Abby Bishop. Play off her, feed off her. She's actually a really good passer, and then Kayla George can get in on the action as well.
Blitzarves. Why not? When it's your night, it's your night.
Oh my goodness. And you can see the hands there. She's like, give it to me again. I'm electric right now. 9 of 9, 24 points is Sarah Blitzarves.
George to Murray, can't control it. This ball is slapped out of her hands. Mia calling for a foul.
And speaking just a little bit more of Blitzarves, she may have the domination with 21 points, but I love what she's doing on the defensive end against Mia Murray, 2 points. And then when she switches on to Tiff Mitchell, you're holding someone that scores on average 22 points a game to 8 in that first half.
Well done, Maddie Rocci. Picked off the pass from Mitchell to Wallace. Now it's Cole to Thornton. Wants to work on George, does, and draws a foul. It's been an impressive performance so far from the Flyers. The Boomers jumped them early and led by 6, but since midway through the opening term, the Flyers managed to stabilise the situation and then really take control of the game.
And I think it came from their defensive end. Really, they upped the ante a little bit, and I think that came through their head point guard, Maddie Rocci. She turned it up against Christy Wallace, forced her into her 3rd foul as well, and then everyone else followed. And why wouldn't you when you've also got the likes in your front court in Lauren Jackson, Abby Bishop, leading the way in case you get beaten in penetration.
Taylor Thornton almost automatic from the free throw strike. 26 for 30 this season. Adds another 2 there, and the Flyers back out to that 8-point lead that they held at halftime. Murray receives from Wallace, off to Nelson Adota, and now Mitchell. George looking to get position against Thornton. Lovely feed inside to Nelson Adota. And Olivia starting to have much more of an impact in this game now. She's becoming a real factor. She's up to 10 points. Thornton for the response. Jackson keeps it alive for Southside. Cole, Rocci. Cole's open. Can she keep it alive? She can. Lovely feed. Blitzarves hasn't missed all night. She has for the first time. It was a tough one. And an offensive foul. Defensive, I suppose. The ball was in the air for a hold against the Boomers. It's going on Mitchell.
Critical minutes here for both teams. You feel like the momentum and the swing obviously is with the Flyers, but you just know the Melbourne Boomers are capable of what? And if they hang around long enough, they can make a game of this. But when Lauren Jackson starts to find the bottom of the net, only her 2nd bucket for the night, that could be in trouble.
Mitchell loses her footing. Here's an opportunity. Thornton, well done. Christy Wallace keeps it alive to George. Dynamic contest, this one. Ball pinging backwards and forwards at the boombox. George to Mitchell. Boomers trying to hang in here. Mitchell pops it over the top. Wallace, big bucket.
Big bucket, but I loved her defensive output on the other end that led to that bucket, Christy Wallace. She had tenacity on the other end to force that turnover and went out flying. She could have flown for a fast break, pulled it out, thought better of it. Nice little pick and roll action, and Tiff Mitchell found her on the wing.
Rochi's been impressive. She sets up for three herself. Murray over the back. And here's Christy Wallace, who's been everywhere. 13 points, 4 assists for Christy. Mitchell over the top. Here's that Nelson Adota Jackson matchup again. Olivia tries to work her way through. Can't on this occasion. Your thoughts on the call, Screeny?
Well, there was definitely a hook, but you got to look at the first elbow on the first play. But Lauren Jackson's smart. She knows how to keep that arm bar in tight that potentially the referees can't see, but I'm sure she was leaning in a little bit aggressively there, and Nelson Adota did the right thing by putting it to the floor, but just couldn't outmuscle Lauren Jackson there in the low block.
Tiff Mitchell, who passed a game day fitness test after tweaking her knee in the final minute against the Fire, takes a seat. She's played 23 minutes so far in this one. Has moved well. 8 points for her. Margin sits at 5. Thornton. Mitchell, Wallace rather, just strips her of the ball. Waits for the cavalry to arrive. It's Nelson Adota from the strike. Kayla's been in the wars tonight. She's had a finger in the eye, a whack in the side of the head. She's hit the deck a couple of times. It's a tough league. And any American players who come out here and play, they go back to America and they say, you've got to get used to the physicality.
Yeah, you do. We always punch above our weight internationally on the defensive end with our physicality. We have to. We don't have the punch and the scoring ability like the Americans do.
This timeout brought to you by DIY Blinds, Australian-made designer quality window furnishings at the best prices. DIYblinds.com.au is Kayla Thornton, Cheryl Chambers and the Southside Huddle.
Yeah, come on, let's not lose it for whatever. Mon, you come in here for Maddie. Good job, Maddie, here. And Naj, you come in for Coley. Good job, Coley. All right. It's our ball, isn't it? It's our ball. Okay, we're gonna go 4 inverse, and then if we don't get anything, Loz, you're gonna start low. If Loz isn't free, this person comes in here. I reckon whoever this is, it might be you that flashes. You'll be able to rip and go because they're not coming off Loz if she's not free. Yeah, so you come to the ball side. Come on, guys. Here we go. Southside.
Let's head to Megan Huswaite. She was in the Boomers huddle.
I sure was. High praise for Olivia Nelson-Adota, but she's taking a seat now with 5 minutes remaining in this third term. Penina Davidson in for her. Chris Lucas really happy with how the Boomers are pushing the ball and how they're getting result and reward for that early in this third term. And the Boomers looking to also shut down Sarah Blitzhardt, who's currently on 24 points.
Thanks, Megs. The Boomers just getting a little bit more control in the last few minutes. Here's Jackson. George to Wallace. Blitzhardt's just 3 points in this second half so far. 21 in the first. Christie off to Tess Madgen. Matched up with Potch. And Nadio did a great job against Christy Wallace the first time these two teams met. Went on to Christy when she was running hot, shut her down. She's got the job on Tess Madgen at the moment. So for a youngster, she's getting some great opportunities to play on some very good players.
She is, but she's got length. She stands at about 6'2", got beautiful wingspan as well, and she has the quickness and a lateral ability to play on guards like Christy Wallace because she can use her length.
Here is Wallace, at the moment matched up with Conti. Feeds Davidson, got the mismatch on Mon. Can't finish, and Jackson comes over the top to pluck the rebound. Conti to Potch. Back to Mon. Inside to Jackson, working on Davidson. Penina, a foul. And Jackson will go to the line.
Interesting, they're leaving Davidson in isolation there against Lauren Jackson. We heard Chris Lucas talk in the first half about just doubling down a little bit, or maybe not doubling down, but at least digging in when Lauren has the ball in the low block, just to make it think twice about potentially passing it out. We know that won't potentially happen a lot of the time from the go, but hard task there one-on-one with Penina Davidson and Jackson in the post.
18 from 20 from the strike this season, Lauren Jackson. And not even the commentator's curse can stop the goat. She drops them both. Back out to a 5-point lead for the Flies, who are doing a good job here at just keeping the Boomers at arm's length. Melbourne trying to close up. Southside maintaining their lead. George to Madgen. Tess puts it on the floor, draws a crowd. Davidson back to Kayla, inside to Panina, works on Carly Ernst. Offensive foul on Panina. Panina Davidson capable of bullying anyone in the league in the post. But on that occasion, Screeny, what'd you make of it?
Well, she knows that's her advantage down in a low block. Carly Ernst not known for putting her body on the line very often, loves to more defend the wing spot. But Carly just got the better position there, and too much overzealousness, if you will, from Davidson on that play.
Foul on Kayla as Ernst was trying to make the inbound of the pass inside, and frustrated looking Carly Ernst there. Of course, joined the Boomers halfway through last season, returning from becoming a mother to Kylan in September of 21, and by January of 22 she was with the Boomers. Joined them in the FIBA period as a top-up player and went on to play in a championship with this Boomers team. And she plays against her old side. Well, one of them. She's had 7 clubs. Carly.
She's moved around.
She's only got one more to fill the complete set.
She's been around a long time, and definitely a talent. Been a huge contributor to most of those 7 teams. And obviously a mum now, one of 10 mums in the WNBL in our league, which is great.
AIS, Dandenong, the Caps, Adelaide, Lynx, Dandy, Spirit, Melbourne, and now the Flyers for Carly Ernst. Mitchell's shot won't go. And there's Carly. Such an effective role player, able to come off the bench, shoot those 3-point daggers, take a turn defending inside when she needs to. Here's Davidson, Mitchell, and she starts to warm up. Tiff, the double figure, she's got 10. 5-point game once again as the Boomers try to close. Southside doing a good job at the moment, holding them at bay. Bishop, Potch, here is Ernst. Back to Nadio. Pop over the top to Blitzarves. He's been lights out tonight. 10 of 11. 26 points for Sarah Blitzarves. Potch arrived a step late on Mitchell.
Sarah Blitzarves. Prolific night from her. She is locked down on the offensive end. Forget about any sets that you're running. Just go to Sarah Blitzarves, put the ball in her hand. She makes this shot look easy. That is tough buckets right there from Sarah Blitzarves. But what I love even better is that it's an all-round game. 2-way from her tonight, both offensively and defensively.
Another good child into the game. Off to Madgen and now George. Mitchell, lovely step on Potch. Doesn't finish. Nelson Adoda keeps it alive. Needs support.
Tiff Mitchell looks like she's been teed up there. A little bit frustrated on her penetration there, potentially, with the lack of foul being called.
It's her third. Yeah, tech foul on Tiff Mitchell. A critical time in this game. Just turns to the ref there, has her say, and where's the tech?
Maybe she just needs that to get that kind of energy out of her body, get her refocused on what's left in this game. Critical foul shots when you're down by 7 points, and Sarah's potentially going to go 2 of 2.
Yeah, she's the last person this season you'd want to send to the line.
I should say 1 with possession.
Just has not been able to miss tonight, Sarah Blitzarves. Only missed 1 shot for the entire evening. She's up to 27 points. Her personal best, incidentally, 38 against Southeast Queensland back in 2016. So some confusion here, Screeny, as to whose ball this should be.
Clearly, I don't know the rules either. I thought they had possession of that, but obviously that's an unsportsmanlike call. Tech foul, it must be 1 foul shot.
As it turns out, it's a travel on Goodchild, so the Flyers will get the ball back anyway. Just a little sloppy here from the Boomers late in this third term. They've made a run, they've got close. The Flyers have kept them at bay, and they've managed to get it back out to the 8-point lead it was at half-time. Big 2:40 left in this third term. Can Southside open up a real gap here and set themselves up for the last term? Blitzarves just having a stunning night. George to Mitchell. Feels like the Boomers need a couple of their stars to try and go with Sarah here and get hot and put the team on their back. Olivia Nelson-Ododa draws the foul. So 16 points for Wallace, 12 for Nelson-Ododa, 10 for George, 11 for George rather, 10 for Mitchell. So they've got 4 in double figures, Screeny. But Southside have got 3 plus 27 points from Blitzarves. That's the difference.
No one's been able to do a job on Sarah Blitzarves yet, or no one's put their hand up and tried to lock it down. Tess Madgen's probably not the best matchup for her right now when she's coming back from injury. This is her first game back since the World Cup. I'd like to see Tiff Mitchell on her, potentially Christy Wallace, but she's obviously had the foul trouble as well in the opening half. But someone's got to lock her up.
29 points rather is Blitzarves. Margin sits at 8. Bishop to Ernst. Here is Sarah. Just put it in her hands. Give it to Sarah and get out of the way. That could be the strategy right now. Ernst, Potch. Nice little move on Madgen. Now back out to Sarah. Nelson-Ododa closes her down with a big block. Can the Boomers come up with some points off this? Get this crowd behind them. Huge crowd in. They've sold 3,000 tickets for this one. Wallace wants to take on Conti. Spins. Doesn't finish. Nelson-Ododa can't control it, and Conti will come away with it. Late whistle. Ref had a good look for the reaching foul. Both teams in the bonus. So Nelson-Ododa called for that one. It was a late call. Is that a 4th personal? I think it is. That's significant in itself with 90 seconds left in the 3rd. Mon makes the first.
Not a bad backup point guard to be coming off the bench. Dual athlete, plays in the women's AFLW. Does a great job there. He's the MVP of the league this year, and then just changes the shoes and comes into the basketball world. And what a nice opportunity, or it is for Cheryl Chambers, to look down her bench and be able to put an athlete like her on.
It's a critical time now for the Boomers. They trail by 10. They've thrown everything at the Flyers in this 3rd term, but the Flyers have responded and actually extended their lead with 90 seconds left in the 3rd term. And Chris Lucas, let's hear what he has to say. Chats there with Christy Harawa.
Mia tip or not? No. All right, we're gonna go to a 2-3 zone. We need to know where Sarah is. Okay? We need to match up zone. Okay, so you need to talk to each other. All right? Stay. We're gonna try and get some stops out of the timeout. Enough time to get 3 stops. Push the break. Inside touches. Okay? Look at your loop punch. Okay? Loop up. Okay? Get some action inside.
Tell you who else needs to know where Sarah is. The scorer. She's up to 29 points, having an amazing night. Here is Meggs, who was courtside with the Southside huddle.
Well, Screeny talked earlier about how it's so hard to pick an MVP candidate from this consistent Flyers team, and that was the delivery of the message at that timeout. It was consistent from several players, including Bet Cole, who hasn't scored yet in this derby, but she certainly delivered the message and encouraged her teammates to get going and close out this 3rd quarter. She's on the court to start the final minute and a half.
And is that fascinating? She averages a touch over 11 points per game this season in the Cygnett WNBL, and just having a quiet one for her, but with other teammates like Sarah Blitzarves, Kayla Thornton that can step up, it's nice to see that selfless play from the Southside Flyers shining through.
The defensive intensity from the likes of Conti and Maddie Rocci tonight really made life difficult for the likes of Christy Wallace.
And they have, and I think that's been the difference, is the backcourt battle, and it's Christy Wallace against Conti and Rocci. You know, they're down a point guard is Melbourne Boomers. Christy Wallace having to do a lot of the duty with Lily Scanlon out, as we know. And there's not really anyone that they can go to on the bench that has the impact that Christy Wallace does.
Mitchell battles around. A real chance for the Flyers to close out this 3rd term now. They've extended their lead from 8 points to 10. They've got the game on their terms once again. Blitzarves, 29 points. Conti had an impact. Here's Sarah again. Are you kidding? She's up to 32. In game number 251, she has gone 12 of 14 from the field, and here's a turnover. Big minute here for the Flyers to add these extra points. They're out to a 13-point lead. Starting to get a little critical here for the Boomers. Off the ball foul.
Frustrating thing for Chris Lucas and his assistant coach, Christy Harrer, in that timeout, as they said, someone's got to lock up Sarah Blitzarps. They jumped to the ball on that and left Sarah open for a couple of seconds, which allowed her that open three-point shot. You are not giving her any breathing space right now. She has earned the respect of someone to defend her, because anytime she catches it, if she's got room, it's going up.
ACL in November of 2018. Had a back issue and COVID to deal with last season. Made it all the way back in 2009. She's played 251 games. She's up to 34 points. She might be headed for a personal best. It's currently 38. Just 4 points off it in her 251st game. What a remarkable performance tonight from Sarah Blitzarps. The Boomers have no answer right now. They trail by 15. They need one of their stars to get hot. Will it be George? Will it be Mitchell or Wallace? One of them has to suddenly take control of the game. Murray now to Christie for the final play. Can they come up with some points? Conti right in her face. Christie wants to go herself. Feeds it to Davidson. Murray, Wallace, Davidson. Just hasn't been clicking for the Boomers tonight. The fencing intensity of Southside's got them out of their rhythm, and then when they have had open shots, they haven't made them.
No, they haven't, but I don't think they've had the great shots or that they're needed right there. Kayla George, that was her first shot in the second half, and she deserves more opportunity and looks at the rim than that, as we see the clock being reset to 0.3 potentially. But hey, Flyers, they're doing a great job holding Melbourne Boomers, who are leading the league in points per game at 87 to 56 heading into the fourth quarter. Massive.
Let's not forget the Flyers did a number on the Spirit. 29 points not that long ago to end their winning run. They are sending a message right now to the rest of the competition to say, hey, this is not a race in two between the Boomers and Bendigo. We are well and truly in this up to our eyeballs as well. Tonight they lead the reigning champs by 15 points at the final change. Southside 71, Melbourne 56.
You come back in for Mom. Good job. Kayla, you come in for Abby. Okay. Our match got Kayla. Whoever you got. Let's know the scouts now, okay? So the only way that we give them momentum is we break down. No catch and shoot for Murray. No catch for Carly. Okay? And then we wrap out of her. Is it our ball? Let's go cutter three. Actually, no, let's go horns flare. You two are up. You drag your player. So you two here, Carly. Actually, Carly, you're here. Sarah. Okay, so we're going to... You got Carly. If we keep moving and... They got 5. Hey! They got 5 offensive boards. Listen! They got 5 offensive boards. That's going to stop. Get them off the boards. Here we go. Southside. Get compete on the board. Boards. Get on the board. Come on.
3-quarter time at the Boombox. It's the Southside Flyers leading it by 15 points. They led by 8 at the half. as we start the final term. The reigning champs with some work to do here. Rochi to Ernst. Can Melbourne get hot here? We know they can pour on points in a hurry. And some of their big names start to have an impact, particularly Kayla George. Well, that'll help. She was 4 for 14 until that shot. Mia Murray 1 for 4 tonight. And the scout during the week from Cheryl Chambers is you've got to stop both those players, those vets, catch and shoot game. Make them put it on the floor. They have so far. Rochi, lovely footwork. Draws a foul.
She's been solid, winning the point guard contest for mine tonight.
Let's head courtside to Megs, who was in both huddles.
I sure was. Sarah Blitzarves was the theme of the Melbourne three-quarter time huddle. Chris Lucas saying when we're in a zone, you can't just leave a player who's got 34 points. Tess Madgen imploring her teammates to play team defence on Blitzarves in this final quarter. And from Cheryl Chambers in the Southside camp, she noted that Melbourne had 5 offensive boards in that third term. And she said that's got to stop. We've got to get on the boards in this final term.
And we know that Melbourne Boomers had 15-0 boards the first time they met in round 2. Weren't able to capitalise in that game. Same story here in round 9.
Wallace has had 16 points, but not the same sort of havoc that she normally wreaks. Receives it back from Madgen. Inside to Nelson Adota, who's probably looked their best option on offense tonight. That one doesn't go. Here's the hot hand of Sarah Blitzarves, up to 34 points. Her all-time best is 38, back in 2016. Rochi to Ernst, and here's Cole. Ernst against Nelson Adota. Shot clock down to 4. Will Beck put up a shot? She will. And here comes Wallace. And the Boomers get on a run here. Get this crowd up and going behind them. George knocked away by Blitzarves. Great defensive work from her on Murray. Rochi thinks about taking it herself. Loses the handle. Now it's Madgen back in the other direction. George. Kayla for another 3. Not this time. Margin sits at 14. Flyers will be happy to run full sets here. Slow the tempo of the game down. Foul off the ball. Jeez, there's been a lot of those tonight.
The Southside Flyers have definitely taken the air out of the boombox in terms of the way they've come out in this second half. They locked down in that third quarter. They own them in terms of the defensive end. They shut down Kayla George. They've shut down Tess Mitchell. She averages 22 points.
And Olivia Nelson Adota is just fouled out of the game with 8 minutes to play.
Substitution of players, Jackson on now.
So huge news that for the Boomers. So Penina Davidson will step in and play the last 8 minutes. And we finished just singing the praises of Olivia Nelson Adota, who's had 14 points, 5 rebounds. She's looked the most likely for them on the inside tonight, and she is now out of the game. This timeout brought to you by Aussie Hoops, the perfect introduction to the world of basketball for kids aged 5 to 10. Register now at aussiehoops.basketball. Let's listen to Chris Lucas. What can the Boomers pull out of the fire here?
Down here, we're very reactive defensively. Every catch they want, they're getting it wherever they want. We need to put some pressure on the catch. Okay, then we need to get to gaps. All right, want to go 2 down? 2 down. Okay. Start low, wait for the screen, sprint up, and then we separate. Okay, if they go under, flip it straight away. Okay, you go back the other way, Wall, and you separate to the rim. Let's get a post touch. Okay, every time. Come on.
So what hasn't worked tonight for the Boomers, Screening?
Well, they've been pretty stagnant on the offensive end. Their ball movement has been pretty poor. Their player movement at time has been quite poor, and their shot selection at times has been quite poor. And then on the defensive end, their D-trans, they've just let Southside Flyers control the tempo. They've been able to push at will. There's a lot of categories, Jace, that they just haven't been on their A game tonight.
Yeah, in hindsight, it would have been easy for me to ask what did work. Yeah, it's my apologies. So margin sits at 14, 8 minutes to play in this one at the boombox. Flyers in control. Now for them, it's just about execution. Composure, being smart, and closing this one out. It's the Boomers that have to change things up and make something happen. Jackson, Thornton, selfless from the go. Jackson comes back, wins the board, keeps it alive, and can chew some more clock. Rochi to the corner. Why not? Why not? 37 points, Sarah Blitzarves. Wallace, George, Madgen, fouled and one. So Tess has played 14 minutes in her return, her first game of the season. They have had no answer tonight to Sarah Blitzarves, who might be on her way to a career evening in what's been a stunning career.
1 point away from her career high of 38 points as we see Tess Madgen get her first points on the board of this WNBL 23 season. She'll only get better as the season progresses. More minutes under her belt, gets the foot speed back, the timing back, and she'll only help the Melbourne Boomers outfit.
There's the record for Sarah Blitzarves, 39 points, her all-time best in game number 251. Wallace can't respond. Can Sarah get a 40 for the first time in her career? What an amazing story. At the age of 29, as I mentioned, debuted back in 2009 with the AIS, spent 3 seasons with the Australian Institute of Sport team before moving to Dandenong. A couple of years at the Spirit. She's been at the Flyers since 2015. Overcome an ACL in 2018, a back problem debilitating last season, along with a really bad bout of COVID. She's come out tonight and had 39 points on 14 of 16 shooting. Stunning. Wallace runs into some traffic and draws a foul. And Screeney, from someone who had a glittering career yourself, did you ever have a night where, just out of nowhere, everything just went right?
Yeah, you have those games where you just don't think about anything, and it all just, the game ends and you're like, oh wow, I did that. And I can guarantee you at the end of this game, Sarah Blitzarves will have no idea what she scored, what she's done, who she's closed out of this game, in the likes of Tiff Mitchell. My goodness. But Sarah Blitzarves, heads off to you as I try and get my words together. She's had a stellar game and one for the record box.
To put it in perspective, she averages 12 points a game in her 251 games. She's got 39 tonight. Wallace against Rochi. Maddie has just been a pest all night. Rochi and Conti, the dynamic duo, the little terriers. Mitchell, George, Wallace. Not working tonight for the Boomers. That's been their go-to all year. Just haven't dropped tonight, those shots.
But their shots have been contested, and that's off the back of the Southside Flyers and their gritty, relentless, ever-changing defense, which has just forced the Melbourne Boomers into contested shots every time down the floor.
Maddie Rochi hit the base of that basket really hard. Here's Mitchell. Murray in the corner. Haven't seen much of that tonight. And we stopping play we are. Yeah, Maddie Rochi really thundered into the base. Really hard. Let's hope she's okay. They've already lost her sister-in-law, Amy, with a back issue. Potentially until the finals. Mon Conti and Maddie have been a pretty handy tag team tonight. Out there just pestering the life out of the likes of Christy Wallace. Megs, a round of applause for Maddie Rochi. She makes her way to the sideline. She's going to stay out there.
She's tough, as are the Rochi family. A crowd of 3,006 here in the Boombox. The action is hot and so is the crowd, but the crowd has been silenced by the Flyers and Sarah Blitzarves throughout this game. Lots of noise coming from the Flyers bench and a healthy sprinkling of Flyers fans throughout the stadium watching some Sarah Blitzarves WNBL history in the making.
Incredible, isn't it? Game number 251 to come out and have a PB. Conti. Calder Jackson for 2. George to Wallace. 5.5 minutes remaining. Offensive foul on Christy Wallace. That's her 4th. It's been a really physical game, Screeney. An extraordinary number of offensive and off-the-ball fouls.
And a great read there from Monique Conti. How is that? Coming off the bench, having that great impact on your first play down the defensive end of the floor, and you can see both those girls going at it. No love lost there. They're both battlers. They love a contest. Great competitors of our game.
Two really physical teams. It's been the physicality of the likes of Wallace and Mitchell that have been such a weapon for the Boomers. They've bullied teams this year. But this is twice now the Southside Flyers have not been bullied. In fact, if anything, they've done the bullying. They've matched the physicality of the Boomers. That was priority one for Cheryl Chambers as she was scouting this game. They've managed to take that away from the Boomers and then beat them with the magic of Sarah Blitzarms. The defensive intensity and 39 points from Sarah has been the formula tonight for Southside. They lead it by 16 with 5:20 to play. Here's Thornton, who's had some good moments as well. She's had some tough ones. It's been a physical night for Kayla. She'll sleep well.
And that's just too easy for the Southside Flyers. Melbourne Boomers are being a little bit more reactive than they should be, proactive on the defensive end, allowing the catches, allowing the cuts and the penetration.
We heard Chris Lucas make that point in a timeout a little earlier, being reactive to catches. Talked about Kayla Thornton's free throw shooting ability, and they managed to fix that up. Plays the game hard, provides physical presence for this team. So combative, physical. Margin at 17. Wallace again, shadowed by Conti. Mitchell from the stripe. Don't drop. It's been one of those shooting nights for the Boomers, even when they have been open. Maybe that's the pressure that's been applied to the Flyers, by the Flyers rather. Even when they're open, they're still feeling a little rushed. Haven't been able to find a groove. Nice pass inside to Jackson. LJ up to 8 points. Happy to play a role this evening.
Lauren Jackson's points, but great cameo performance from Kayla Thornton there, attracting the defense of Lauren Jackson and just finding her underneath the bucket for a nice easy 2.
Margin out to 19. And what we've seen in this game and the game against the Spirit, the Flyers, when they're at their best is good enough to beat anyone.
It's up there to win the championship this year, and for them, they've knocked off the top 2 teams now.
If they're going to go to a zone, let's just go 2 out and make sure we get a high, low, and then before we move it. So a 2 out if they go to a zone, because we can play it against both. If we don't get a score, go the other side and just go high, low out of that, okay? Keep moving the ball. Get a stop. Let's see.
So just adjusting their lineup to be on par with the lineup of the Boomers, who are potentially going smaller to try and get the running game going, some penetration going. They've got just under 5 minutes to go and got to get some points on the board quick.
Meggs was in the Boomers huddle.
I'm certainly not going to quote what Chris Lucas had to say to his team in that huddle, but it definitely summed up the emotion and how much this game means in terms of the rivalry. But as it stands at the moment, it looks like the Boomers' 8-game winning streak is going to come to an end, and it's been bookended by losses to the Southside Flyers, which is quite extraordinary given Melbourne Boomers' incredible form over the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's going to hand them the Michelle Timms Cup and the season series, which could be important come playoffs time. Lead by 19 with 4:15 to play. Conti, Thornton to the corner for Potch. Back to Mon. Shot clock down to 3. Mon will have to put up a shot here. She gives it off to Thornton. George comes over the top, tips it in the direction of Mitchell. So Tiff came into the game under a bit of an injury cloud. He's had 10 points, hasn't had quite the same dynamic effect tonight. Murray finds a rare bucket. She's had a superb season, but just 5 points for Mia tonight. So some of these weapons that have been dominating for the Boomers have been shut down tonight by the Southside Flyers, who then have to regroup the Boomers to play the Spirit. And we also get to see the Flyers play the Spirit this weekend as well. Bit of a three-way round robin amongst the top three teams.
And if I'm sitting at home and I'm the Spirit, I'm watching exactly what the Southside Flyers are doing. They're up and in defensively. It all comes from the defensive end. The way they've been physical, their assertiveness, their proactiveness on the defensive end has just pushed the Melbourne Boomers into shots that they shouldn't or rarely take or have taken in the last 8 games.
It's been the perfect scouting game for Kennedy Kerryama, the Spirit coach. He gets to see both his next opponents play against each other. Get reinforcement of what works and what doesn't on both sides of the equation as Kayla Thornton extracts another foul.
And head-to-head, this game's pretty big. You know, we know that both these teams are going to be pushing for the finals, potentially a top 2 finish, but head-to-head now, Southside own it 2-0 on the season. And on a mental side, that's a big deal. Heading towards the end of the season, you want to win a couple, especially against this type of team, the Southside Flyers. If they don't get one under their belt before finals campaign, not only are you going up against them on the court, you've also got to go up against them mentally as well.
A rubber match between these two teams will be right here on ESPN on February the 22nd. We've already got it circled on the calendar. It won't be the rubber match, rather, the third and final match, but the series is already won. Southside have it. But as you mentioned, from a mental perspective on the eve of the playoffs, that's going to be a huge one. February 22, right here on Wednesday Night Hoops. Mitchell, George. Haley gets one to go late. Potch hits the floor.
Nice penetration from Tiff Mitchell.
And Snadio, a bit of a shove in the back.
Just letting her frustration of the night boil over. 10 points on 4 of 14, 4 assists, and the uncharacteristic 5 turnovers for her, but that's all credit to the Southside Flyers and the way that they've defended her.
So, Potch. And there's Mitchell. She's fouled out of the game as well. That was her 5th. And Potch will go to the line to shoot 2, and there's the frustration etched on the face of Tiff Mitchell.
And this is sometimes what you need. It's just a reset. Their 8-game winning streak, the Melbourne Boomers. They've got a sellout crowd here. Potentially this loss is just a learning opportunity of things that Chris Lucas and his team need to go away and work on. We know they've got the game against Bendigo Spirit coming up this weekend, and you know they'll bounce back. They're not the reigning champions for nothing.
We're back to an extended WNBL season. This is why we love it, Screeny. The extended season, we went a little bit shorter over a couple of years across the COVID period, etc. And we're back to an extended season which allows for these twists and turns. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Teams are going to have to adapt and adjust along the way. You're going to find yourself in great form at times. You're going to hit a bit of a speed hump here and there, and it's the teams that can recover and adapt and get back on top and ultimately hoist the silverware. Magic.
I mean, we talk about the top 2 finish and the top 3, and it's most likely the Melbourne teams, but don't forget the 4th place.
Yeah.
You know, Townsville and Perth, they're going to be fighting neck and neck, and every win is crucial at the tail end of this season as to who's going to seal that 4th spot as well.
Well, we're seeing so far in results, anyone can beat anyone on any given night. So that top 4 is going to be highly competitive. First to get there, Blitzards with 40. Sarah's got 40 for the first time in her career. Magnificent performance from Sarah Blitzards. Imagine, good child.
And you can see her teammates standing with ovation for her, celebrating what is not a Southside win, but a Sarah Blitzards win tonight. She put the team on her back and has been sensational. 41 points, 15 of 17, if you don't mind, and those 5 rebounds to go with it.
Megs, you've seen a large percentage of those 251 games. Can you believe what you've seen tonight?
Oh, look, I'm very emotional being live here watching it, knowing what Blicky's been through with her ACL. She missed out on Olympic selection. She was cut from WNBA training camp while she was in quarantine in 2021. She made the Olympics. As we know, it's an incredible story. She's got family and friends here tonight. Southside have got a big game against Bendigo in 48 hours, and they've started to get some of their bench players in Lana Hollingsworth and Georgia Pinot on for this final 90 seconds.
Georgia Pinot with her first field goal of the season. an opportunity. The 25-year-old, originally from Nuttawading in the Melbourne Tigers. Dandenong, 2014, and then went to college in Boston for 4 years. Back to the Spirit.
Pinot's another one that's had a tumultuous couple of years. Coming back from an ACL, her brother Dane Pinot plays in the NBL with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Her father was a player in the NBL as well, so great pedigree there as we see Sarah Blitzarves getting a well-earned send-off and rest on the bench as we see the clock wind down in this one.
41 points for Sarah Blitzarves on 15 for 17 shooting. 6 from 6 from three-point range. 5 from 5 from the stripe and 9 from 11 from two-point range. Just a stunning performance from a great of Australian basketball. Here's Georgia Pinot and Lana Hollingsworth, rather. A couple of the youngsters getting some court time. This is Rachel Brewster for the Boomers. Davidson against Pinot. Well done by Georgia. Hassled her out of the shot. Final minute of what's been a stellar performance from the Southside Flyers. Ernst to Potch. Now to Conti. Mon drives, kicks. A little high and wide for Lana Hollingsworth.
You talk about individual brilliance, and we talk about Sarah Blitzarves tonight, and then we had Kayla George with that massive triple-double, and Mia Murray, and then let's not forget Steph Reed, who's having a phenomenal season up in Townsville, Nicole Nicholson as well, Laura Nicholson rather. There's just so many individual brilliant performances in this WNBL season this year. I can't speak highly enough of this league.
Imagine. Here's Hollingsworth. Off to Conti. 5-second differential between shot and game clock. But you can put this one in the book. Boomers will get the ball back here. Conti can be pleased with her work tonight. 17 minutes coming in off the bench. She's had a major impact. 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And just a defensive pressure, as we see here, has been outstanding. Between Conti and Rocci, they've got themselves a weapon, a competitive advantage. Nicole, you see it right there, right on cue, the pressure of Mon Conti, this time on Goodchild. Forces a turnover.
I think she forgot to dribble the ball there. You can only hold it for 5 seconds, but that's what Conti can do, the relentlessness in her pressure defensively. She can play 94 feet, she gets up and in, and she can make you feel uncomfortable.
Lots to learn here for the Boomers. But Southside and Sarah blitzed them tonight. Southside 88, Boomers 70. Sarah Blitzarves with a personal best 41 points in a stunning performance from the 29-year-old. 15 from 17 for Sarah Blitzarves. 6 from 6 from three-point range. 5 from 5 from the stripe. 9 for 11 from two-point range. 41 points in one of the most incredible performances we've seen in the WNBL in many a long year.
Absolutely sublime. I had this one marked down on my calendar for a long time, the rematch from round 2, and it lived up to expectation. That first half was absolutely sensational. It was physical, it was intense, but credit to Southside Flyers. They raised the bar defensively tonight. They put the Boomers under pressure, the league-leading team currently, and they got away with a great win.
70 points to 88. Huge win for the Southside Flyers, whose offense clicked beautifully, put 88 points on the board, and then defensively held the Boomers to 70. The Boomers averaging 88 points a game this year, Screeny. And some of those were shots that didn't drop for the Boomers, that they were open, and you mentioned operation was successful, but the patient died. But a lot of it was just about the pressure of the Southside Flyers. Well, Megan Huswaite and Sarah Blitzarves have been good friends for a very long time. As Meg's mentioned, it's an emotional night for a lot of people in Australian basketball that will be watching this with a massive smile on their face. Sarah Blitzarves with a personal best, 41 points.
It was the first, second, third, fourth quarter Blitzarves tonight. Sarah Blitzarves, your previous best was 38 points in an elimination final loss to SEQ, who don't even exist anymore. You've come a long way, girl. That was a hell of a performance tonight.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I don't know really where I've been all season, so I thought it was time to step up a little bit against our main rivals. And I mean, everyone contributed so well today, and you know, I just felt like I fitted in nicely with what everyone else was doing. So really happy.
You're a Dandenong and then Flyers girl, and the rivalry's real. You love beating this mob, don't you? So I'm sure it meant a lot to do it tonight, and you've now knocked them off twice this season to take the Michelle Timms Cup.
Yeah, it really does mean a lot. I'm trying not to get too excited. We still have another game on Friday, but let's go. Wrapped. But yeah.
Bring on Bendigo, hey?
Yeah, they're going to be tough. I'm very sore right now, so I just need to get in the ice bath and just have a big old nap for 24 hours, I say.
Enjoy that snooze, Blicky. Well done tonight. Amazing stuff.
Thanks, Meg.
Good on you. And I'm now with Cheryl Chambers. Congratulations, Cheryl. Sweep over the Boomers and you take home the Michelle Timms Cup. Here we are. Congratulations. Shez, you've had a long relationship with Sarah Blitzarves. I'm sure it just makes your heart burst seeing that tonight.
Yeah, it does. I mean, she's been building and, you know, it's hard coming off World Championships and maybe a little bit flat, but she's just been getting better and better every game, and I'm really rapt to see she had a great game like that tonight.
Well, so have the Flyers, because you've produced some of your best basketball against top three teams. You knocked off Bendigo, you've taken Boomers now, and you've brought your best in the big games.
Yeah, look, we're just trying to work on our offense and our rebounding, to be quite honest with you. So really happy. Hopefully we won the rebound camp tonight and we can enjoy that as well.
Just one more question. You were coach of the Boomers in the first year of the Michelle Timms Cup in 2005. What does it mean to play for this cup and a legend of the game?
Oh, look, I think it's just awesome. I mean, Timsy's been around Australia forever, and to be able to win a cup that she stands for and play against cross rivals in a state where basketball's the biggest thing in women's basketball, it's great.
Good stuff. Well done, Shez.
No worries.
Cheryl Chambers spent 9 years with the Boomers from 2001 to 2009. A great of this competition, as is that lady. Sarah Blitzarves with a red letter night. 41 points leads her Southside Flyers team to a big win, 88-70.
Fine. It's my fault.